I invited Danny to come to Sweden.
You know what she's been going through.
Christian says you've got this special week planned.
It's sort of a crazy festival. Special ceremonies and dressing up.
That sounds fun.
Unbelievable.
Welcome and happy Midsummer. Skål!
All right. The moment
I
I've
couldn't
been
hear
waiting
that clap
for.
at all, man.
What?
You're gonna have a hard time syncing up this audio. It's gonna be.
Well, this is the moment I've been waiting for from the start of this podcast, and I can't wait to talk about it. But this week we watched. Apparently, it's Midsommar, but I like Midsummer. It's easier to say.
You got the shirt on, I see.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have 3 shirts, but this is my favorite one. Shout out to this company called Graveyard Goods.
It's a nice aesthetic for you, Joe.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's a good blend because I don't wear
as the May Queen.
Yeah, that'll be it eventually. I don't have that. It needs to be perfect. That needs to be a perfect outfit. But this is a good blend because I don't wear dark clothing. But that's like the thing with me. It's like I like all this horror stuff, but most horror related clothing items are all black, and I don't really wear black. So this is a great blend.
Yeah, it's like getting you a gift anytime. It's like the horror shops and like the classic stores in the malls. It's just all black.
All black. There's one white one, and it's like, all right.
Yep. Makes it easy for you.
Exactly. But so Joe and I have seen this before, but this is Jesse's first time. So again, like we do every episode, Jesse, start us off. I really want to hear your opinion on this.
Same.
I watched like 5 minutes and I turned it off. I was like,
it's a short movie, so
yeah, I was like, I've seen The Wicker Man, you know. I was like, I get what's going on. Kind of stole the idea, I think. I'd say overall, I liked it. I think it was a good movie. Very cool visuals. Well, not the gore, but like the colors, the way it was shot, very super cool. Only thing I could do less with was the gore. Like some of the graphic images, like I was like, okay, I didn't need to see that. And then 2 minutes later, it's just like, oh, you want up close shots of this? And I'm like, no, not at all. Not one bit. But take that out. Great film.
All right.
So it's your first dive into Ari Aster's head?
I think so.
It's a scary place. It's a very scary place.
What else has he done?
He just did Hereditary. That was like his first feature film.
Yeah.
And then he did a couple shorts that he's pretty well known for. It's really cool to watch like these directors' short films, or they're before they're big directors. But this was actually a breakup film.
I wrote this while I was going through a pretty bad breakup after a long-term relationship, and I wanted to make a film that that felt like as big as a breakup feels. Like from a distance, if it's happening to someone or somebody else, it's like this silly thing, and they're going to get over it, and just pick yourself up by the bootstraps. But when you're in it, it can feel cataclysmic. And so I wanted to make a breakup movie that felt as consequential as a breakup feels.
How do you feel as Ari Aster's ex-girlfriend?
That's a great question. I'm kind of scared for her.
What character is she supposed to be?
He said he relates to Danny. So.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
But yeah. Now, Joe, what did you've seen this before? Was this your second time watching it?
No, this is, I think, like either 3 or 4, something like that. But I remember, so I reel it back to the beginning. I remember I saw this in theaters with you, Joe. And I remember walking out of there and just feeling like very like disgusting. Like I felt like I was walking outside and I was just like, nothing feels right. And like, generally, if a movie can make you feel any sort of anything, I'm going to count that as a good movie. But I remember being like, wow, like I feel like that was really messed up, but I really liked how the story was told. To your point, Jesse, I loved the visuals of this movie. It was, it's I think we might have talked about this in a previous episode, but like just it's so bright and it's very hard to like do a scary movie, or at least a movie that makes you feel as gross as I felt walking out the first time, where it's just really bright and like happy looking almost. So I think this time I feel like I tried to like look at a lot more of the detail, like a lot of the artwork, like there's like a barn that they stay in, and a lot of the artwork on the wall is like almost like foreshadowing of what's going to happen later on. And also just like very intricate, like really cool artwork. When I watched it again this time, like I feel like I got even more out of it. And I still would say, as much as like I don't like, it makes me feel kind of gross just with all the gore and stuff, but like I think it's a really well done movie, and I would say I really like this movie. So
Makes me happy.
That's where I land many times after seeing it.
In my opinion, it's one of the most like aesthetically shot, beautifully shot horror films of all time. I think it's just there's no film like it, like no horror film at least like it. It's like his pacing, like it's very like, you know, if it's a straight on shot, they kind of like, you know, dollies in or zooms in really slowly. And he takes his time, like his movies are long, and it's based on the visuals a lot of the time. And it's not a lot of cutting, which I like. I mean, I'm an editor, but I like when you can just by one shot, you can kind of create suspense.
There's one in particular that I thought was really cool, where they're like driving in and they do that like spin. That is such a cool
and
shot.
It's also, this whole movie's foreshadowing, like that is representation of basically Danny, because there's a lot of mirror shots with Danny, and it's like reflecting on her life basically. And that's like, I don't know. There's a lot of, there's so many layers to this movie that you wouldn't even think about, but it's crazy.
One reason I really liked this movie was like, I don't know if this is the best analogy, but like, I feel like the way it's shot and his style is like almost like this like Wes Anderson, not like it is Wes Anderson, but it's like so unique like him. Like you feel like you're really brought into his world that he created.
Right.
You know, and like aesthetically, and like that's super cool to me. Also wanted to note, I feel like it was fitting that like the clouds came in and Joe's room got really dark as soon as we started talking about this.
Yeah, I did.
It was time to talk about Midsommar.
Yeah. Florence Pugh is so freaking good in this movie. I don't understand, because so she was in Little Women the same year, and she was nominated for an Oscar for that movie. But I thought she was I mean, she was great in it, but this movie had took so much more of like, there was so much more depth to her character. I feel like, I don't know, she had to cry a lot, and that's impressive.
She did a very
but it's
good
a
job.
horror movie.
Exactly.
So it doesn't count.
Exactly.
It doesn't. It's the minor leagues.
Production design, come on.
It's the minor.
So one other interesting thing about this time watching it is I had never seen The Wicker Man before. Like I actually saw this the first time prior to ever seeing The Wicker Man. But so then when we watched The Wicker Man, and now I like see so many parallels. Like I saw it when I was watching The Wicker Man, but then when I went back and watched this again, I like thought of it even more.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just so many clear similarities between the two.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And I actually watched the director's cut this time around, which I've never seen before. And it was about 30 minutes extra footage or something like that. But I mean, it was great. Just the same as the normal cut. There was one scene that was added that wasn't in the original cut, and it's a nighttime scene. And it explains what happened to that girl, Connie. Basically, do you remember the British girl? Because like in the movie you hear her scream, but you don't understand what happens to her. But in the director's cut, there's a scene where like they're at this, I think it's like a pond or a lake or whatever, and they're basically asking someone to volunteer to sacrifice themselves. And this little girl steps up, she's part of the commune, and they like put chains around her ankles and make her hold a rock, and they're like about to throw her in. And apparently, since she volunteered for herself, like she didn't have to do it. They wanted someone who would fight it and not want to do it. And then so she was wearing this the grass, like grass get up. I don't really know what it is, some kind of tunic, like grass made tunic. But at the end, when you see Connie's body, she's wearing the exact same outfit. So it basically shows that she drowned. They drown her basically, which I kind of wish was in the original because like that makes. I mean, I guess I don't know. I like both cuts, but the more the better. And this is
how long is the director's cut?
2:47.
Okay,
it's not too much longer.
Just add a little.
Yeah, not too bad. But
just a little something,
Just a little something.
There was one.
Did he take out a lot, or was it just adding?
It was added. Yeah, there was a couple shots, like just like a couple scenes here and there, like little conversations. But it also something else along with that scene was that Danny and Christian had even more there was more within the relationship, which I liked because how could it go worse? He's the worst person ever. But speaking of shots, there was this one that gets me every time I watch it. It's when I love it. It's when she's crying when they're in their apartment and Pele says something to her and she starts crying and walks to the bathroom and it goes to the airplane.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm gonna just go to the bathroom. Thank you.
Oh, that's such a cool transition. I don't know if you remember that.
It is really cool how that was shot.
Mm-hmm. What I learned this time around was some of the Swedish that they were speaking didn't have subtitles. And apparently he did that on purpose. So the viewer would kind of be in the same spot as the Americans in the movie. Like you're kind of lost. You don't really know. You're kind of isolated. So they wanted us to feel the same way as they do, which is interesting.
Shouldn't they have made them costumes? The commune?
Yeah, you would think.
Like, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Obviously, I get why they didn't have costumes, but...
I remember when I first watched it, and they come in and they're like in their just normal clothes, and everyone else is all dressed up in their commune attire. And I was like, oh wow, these like people look really nice. Like they're just like accepting of people and like.
Can we cut back to like I feel like multiple times when we're like, I think Joe Cuffney would join a commune without knowing.
Yeah, and I'd be like, wait a minute, this is a commune?
Yeah, and you're like, there's just nice people.
Right.
But like, I mean, like they didn't like ask them to change in any way. They're just like, they just came along because the people had invited them, and they like it just seemed like a very nice thing to do until you realized what was going on. But
Right.
But initially it's just like, wow, that's so nice. They're like so accepting of people who are like different from them, which is honestly refreshing. But
we should all be more like this group, is what we're saying.
Yeah, then things go sideways. But
the scene I love and hate for the gore, but is that when they're jumping off the cliff, that first one, but the way it's shot, and it's I think we even talked about this at the end of the little things, but it's like these shots where it almost looks still, but with one thing moving.
Mm-hmm.
When it like zooms out and it's like they're jumping on the left and everyone's just lined up, not moving, watching. And specifically the music during that is so, I mean, it's so good, the music, but I love when they use music to like, I feel like the music controls the feeling more than just like a lot of times music kind of like fills it in or gives it that like ambiance, like the lower level of feeling, it's like in the background, but like this so heavily relies on the music to like disorient you and be like, oh God, what the hell is going on? And you feel weird just hearing the music.
Did you see that coming?
What?
When you were watching, Jess? Did you see?
Jump?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, of course, the person shows up on that cliff and you're like, this is where this is going.
Yeah, okay. Just
I knew what kind of movie I was watching.
It's super interesting that you said that because the very first scene when, you get those horrific images of Danny's family, that music, how they transition with the car horn. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It just cuts to the car horn and that basically is the track. Oh, it gets so good.
It's, yeah.
I think that's my least favorite scene
That's a brutal scene.
It just makes me sick to my stomach, to be honest.
That's what he does. That's what Ari Aster's about. Joe, did you have any scenes that stuck out to you or that you like? You've seen this before, but
I like all of the like things that kind of just are unique about this movie. That being mostly around the cult because it's just so interesting. But
it's a commune. It's not a cult.
I still think I pick up every single time I watch this more like bear foreshadowing. And just so like, when they're like walking around and they see the bear in the cage and they're like, don't worry about that. And it's like, you're going to end up in it. Like, that's not where I would have thought. Like, it was pretty predictable that somebody was going to jump off the cliff. The whole bear thing was not predictable to me initially, but I still think that's probably one of my more favorite scenes when you kind of realize where it's going, right? Because they had been hinting at it kind of throughout the entire movie. And then you're like, oh my God, really? And then, end up getting burnt in a bear.
Yeah. It's something I realized this time around was that scene that you're talking about where they see the bear in the cage and they're all walking together, that they're in the order that they die, basically. Which is cool. A lot of things like that when you rewatch it, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Or like how they, when they were at, I think they were sitting on the ground and these kids were running around and they were like, what are they playing? And they said Skin the Fool. And then Mark becomes Skin the Fool.
There's actually another interesting, so like it has nothing to do with Midsommar per se, but like, the guy who gets like hung up in the barn. So Dee and I are also watching a show right now called Vikings, and so I mean, Nordic, influence there for sure. But they did in one of the scenes in a certain episode, they did something very similar to somebody as like a punishment, and I was just like, oh my God, not again. but yeah, so like when I saw that, I was just like, oh, this is like a thing. But it was just like meant to be a really painful way to die.
And he was still alive.
Well, yeah, I know.
Which is crazy.
Now you just, anytime you see this, you're the typical Swedes. See this all over the place. Maybe it's just because I had heard, like, I didn't remember any of the specifics you guys told me, like, a long time ago. But I, like, knew there was something with a bear. I knew the ending. Everyone was like, oh, my God, are you... So I feel like when I watched it, I just was kind of like, yeah, it makes sense. Oh, yeah, this is the bear thing? Okay. Just because in my head, I know some people were like, there's a bear thing at the end. I knew, right? There's something about how he's the worst. And I was like, oh, okay.
That is why there's something to be said for like going into a movie, like, especially like this, where like, you have no idea what's going to happen because then you're just like, wow, I couldn't even imagine that if I wanted to. Like,
and like, that's funny because I feel like when this came out, there was more of an audience because people were like, oh, this looks interesting. Because I feel like a lot of the people who saw this never saw Hereditary. And especially I think the theater that I was in when I first saw it, this the exact thing happened after Hereditary when I saw it. When the movie ended, people were just silent. Everyone's like, what did I just watch? But I feel like if you saw Hereditary, I could tell because if I looked around the theater, people with kind of like grins on their face, it was like, you saw Hereditary. Like you know what you saw. Like there's a style and it was great. But I loved seeing the reaction of people who haven't seen it because it's like, this is such a new type of movie. Like, I don't know, directors don't really go as far. His scares are more like horrific imagery, basically. It's not like paranormal. It's like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, again, I was like, that was like the only thing that was like, I was fine watching the whole movie. I was like, this isn't even, I mean, it's scary, but it's not scary. I don't know,
I know
but
exactly.
The worst parts where you're just like, they just like roll like mutated dead bodies across the screen and you're like, oh, okay. And then they're like, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then it's just like, oh, here's it from another angle loading onto fire. I was like,
yep.
Oh, okay.
For sure. For me, I think one of the scenes that I love is obviously the Maypole Dance is really cool, like that whole sequence. But it's fascinating to me because I've seen this movie so many times and there's such a, I don't know how he does it, but every time I watch it, there's such a seamless transition between, oh, they're all hanging out. They're kind of, all the friends are still together. And then it's like, they start drinking that stuff or whatever they do probably doing shrooms or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna raise this as well.
It's
the
like
transition between like
it's a seamless transition.
High.
Unbelievable. It's like I feel like I'm there. It's like I'm watching this movie and then you're in a completely different movie within like 10 minutes or so. It's crazy to me. I don't know how he does it.
I want to know how they did the like plants growing on her hand specifically. Just the feeling of like sinking into wherever you happen to be sitting. I feel like they captured that like perfectly.
So good. Yeah.
Or even it's just like I feel like it's very hard to depict visually how somebody's feeling, after having mushrooms.
Right.
And I feel like they did you could tell, but you could still follow the story. And I feel like there's a balance to strike there, and I feel like they did a good job doing that.
Yeah, I love the pulsating backgrounds. Yeah. Oh, it was so great.
I have a gory question.
Mm-hmm.
The scene where Josh, correct, that's the right name, basically dies and they bring him into the barn, and then he's like, Mark? Well, at first when I saw that, I was like, oh, cool. It's like a Michael Myers mask. But
that would be a great twist.
It kind of looks like it, right?
It kind of does.
Is that a skinned head mask someone's wearing? Or is that?
No, that's Mark's body.
That's just Mark.
So the guy, you know how Mark peed on the tree?
Yeah. So that's
that guy, the guy who was really upset was the one who killed Mark and wore his skin.
Well, that's what I mean though. But like, so he killed Mark and then he wore Mark.
Yes.
Michael Myers style. And killed. Okay. Mm-hmm. I was just curious.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know if it was the same universe or not.
That would be hilarious. Michael Myers finds himself in a cult situation
in Sweden. Michael Myers goes to Sweden.
That would be like, how they did like a Freddy versus Jason. I would like to see.
Oh my gosh. Midsommar versus Michael Myers.
I would be so into that.
Could you imagine
horror
him being
villain versus
for a cult?
I do want the Maypole song from The Wicker Man edited into this.
Ooh,
I'd be I'd give it even a better review if I could get that.
Could do
cut.
That.
In the woods there grew a tree, and a fine, fine tree was he. And on that tree there was a limb, and on that limb there was a branch, and on that branch there was a nest, and in that nest there was an egg, and in that egg there was a bird, and from that bird a feather came, and of that feather was a bed.
So what unit of rating are we doing this week?
We were doing flower crowns.
Love it. I'm gonna go pretty high on this one. I'm gonna go 9 flower crowns.
Ooh.
Because it's like I said earlier, like anything that just like I definitely felt gross walking away from this movie, but I thought it was extremely well done. It was completely new to me. It's a style I've never seen before because I hadn't seen The Wicker Man. So like I think this is a very well done movie. I very much enjoyed watching it, even though it made me feel gross.
I think it's a really good, on your point, I think it's a very good bridge between people who don't like horror movies.
I also could not rate this lower than Spider-Man 3. So
there you go. I'll give Jesse an extra minute or two, but I'm going to go 10 out of 10. This is very, very much my film, my type of movie. Ari Aster, he made this for me. I'm going to go with that.
Yes.
And I guess if I had to give it, being a little nitpicky, I would say I could have used a little more horror, but there was enough horror in it for me. So it's cool.
All right. Well, I'm probably going, this is tough. I'm probably going 8, probably like 8.2. We're going to push it over 8, but it's not right.
Decimals.
8.2. Strong influence on just musically and visually, like 10 out of 10 music and visuals, minus a few points for the gore. Brings us to 8.2.
Thanks for breaking down the
Flower
calculation.
crowns.
Yeah.
That was great. Wow. I agree with you though. Camera work is fantastic. And something also, I realized this, not this time, but the time before, that there's a scene, when they pick up Danny after she's the May Queen and they're walking her. If you look in the trees behind her, you see her sister's face like in the trees with like the tube. Yeah, like how she looked at the accident. And they placed that stuff around the movie, like the whole movie. Kind of fascinating.
And then you talked about locations a little bit and how they filmed in
Budapest, Hungary.
Do we have some locations for this one, right?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't know. I was trying to find them online, but we have to do the hike. We have to go there.
I mean, they
just start putting random fields.
Well, I don't know. Hopefully this isn't like offensive, but like
it'd
be cool to have like a maypole up in that location.
It would be cool.
I don't know how people would feel about that, but
it is fascinating because there was like I bought this on Apple TV or iTunes or whatever, and they have like an extras feature where it's like a 30-minute time lapse of them building the whole community. And it's crazy. They start out and it's just this blank slate of just a field, and then at the end it's the whole. It's really incredible actually how they do that.
And they did it in 30 minutes.
That's yeah. But the earlier scenes were shot in Utah, which I didn't know, but it makes sense because
Cult capital of America.
Cult capital. Well, Hereditary was also shot there. That makes sense. I never thought about that before.
Also, little aside, I love Scandinavian architecture, but like the A-frames in that little community, they were good.
I love it. I loved going back with some other favorite scenes was the whole, how do you say this? Making love scene. That scene was weird, but it was it was cut together so well. Like the sound design, how they cut it together. Oh, it was just so good. And then when the old woman came and pushed him in the
I was about to say that.
That was great.
So uncomfortable.
Apparently it was the guy who played Christian, Jack Rayner. Apparently it was his idea to go naked, to run out of the thing naked, because he was like, makes him more vulnerable. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that you'd stop to put clothes on.
No, you definitely wouldn't.
I think that was a good call on his part.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But also Will Poulter, he was great in this.
I was gonna say when he popped up, he's one of those actors who it's not even like, oh, he's from that one movie, but I'm like, oh, I know him.
Right.
He's in this.
Right.
And he kind of plays that character really well.
It's weird because I feel like, I think of We're the Millers, and he's kind of like a dorky, nerdy kid.
Oh,
and I'm like, bizarre. But he was supposed to play Pennywise before Bill Skarsgård got the role.
Whoa.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Very interesting.
But yeah, he was great. He was good. They were all, I liked all the cast members. They're all great. And yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Also, Midsommar is a real festival.
Yeah.
Is this true?
Yep. He kind of obviously he exaggerated these festivities, but he kind of took a couple different cultures and blended them together a little bit.
Do you know any of the history of Midsommar, or the people who celebrate it? Or
I don't, but I know there's a lot of different ways that they do celebrate it. Like different communities and different cultures celebrate it differently. It's like the same sort of festival. It's it's in June, but I think they do different things, but it essentially means the same thing. I honestly don't know. I'm not too familiar with it.
It's just like a summer solstice,
right? Yeah,
solstice. So it's not like they kill people.
No.
And then this movie came out.
No, it's not like this is based on anything real. Well, at least the horrific parts. But they do like a Maypole Dance, they do that, things like that. So no, I don't know if it's too extensively like the movie, but I know it's in The Wicker Man. That's more of the Maypole style with the pieces of fabric that they kind of dance around with. I think that's more realistic, but I don't know, honestly.
I know in the Wicker Man, they did have thing in the beginning where they like thanked the native folks who. So I would imagine that, like to your point, Joe, like maybe that's a little closer to the traditional Maypole dance.
Yeah, that's what I gather at least. It's definitely an interesting culture to learn from, and I mean, not from this movie, obviously, but
How many people did they get going next year to Midsommar? You know,
seriously
like,
though,
except then all these probably like Americans being like, so when do you push someone off the cliff? And they're like,
right.
Oh God. When I was little, we had an au pair from Sweden. And I think this is how, when I reach back out.
Hey, I just watched
reach out every
Midsommar.
once in a few years. Might as well just reach out and be like, do you by chance Midsommar like +1s or +3 maybe?
I'm an expert. I watched this movie called Midsommar, and
just watch this doc.
this dog. Oh my God. Well, cool. That's great. I'm glad you guys, at least Jesse, I'm glad you liked it better than you thought you would.
Oh, I do have one more thing.
Ooh,
I was gonna wait till we talked about the ending anyways, or at the end of it. Is there gonna be a sequel? Has he talked about if there is or not?
No sequel. But
I couldn't remember if I'd heard you say something, because the way it ended to me almost was like they could do something, which I'd be super curious about a sequel, just because like a movie like this, like The Wicker Man, you would never, it's not a movie that you'd set up to do a sequel. Right. So I'd be so curious to what a sequel would even be.
And that's
like
why
at the very end.
Movies, that's why these types of movies are great, because like one-offs, because I feel like they set up sequels better than movies that try to set up sequels.
But like, now I want the sequel. Exactly. I don't even know what it would be, but I'm like, can you try to do something?
Right. Like She's in the Cult now, or the community, sorry. But he actually just casted Joaquin Phoenix in a role. So it's Ari Aster and Joaquin Phoenix, and it's oh my God, it's like too much. It's gonna be too much to handle.
You're gonna peak.
I'm gonna peak like I do every time I like something.
Well, since Ari Aster made this movie for you, why don't we make Midsommar 2 for Ari Aster? I think it's only fair.
Let's hit up A24.
I'm into it. Joaquin Phoenix.
Realize their costume for you.
Or you could do like the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix. Spike Jonze. We'll do a little collab. Spike Jonze / Ari Aster / Joaquin Phoenix.
Jordan Peele. Throw him in there because why not?
Yeah, sure. And let's get Wes Anderson to do a little bit. I don't know.
Plus Florence Pugh. We got to put her in there. Freddie Highmore.
If anyone wants to fund this, just like hit us up in an email. Midsommar2 at getonsetapp.com.
Now, Joe, do you want to tell us your selection for next week?
Yeah, so we're gonna go with Knives Out.
Ooh, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Jesse, have you seen this one?
I think so.
Okay. Well, that's good. I mean,
there's a few movies like this that are all jumbled in my head together. They're like, like murder mystery-esque. I think I've seen Knives Out. I might be thinking of another movie.
Well, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
I'm excited. Cool. Good stuff. I love this movie. I've only seen it once in theaters, so I'm really excited to see it again.
I tried to see this in theaters, but it was like sold out, I think.
Yeah.
It at home.
Sweet. I'm really excited. At one location too, so we'll have to figure out where that is. Anything else? Any movie news or any entertainment news that you guys seen or excited about? I'll go with I didn't mention this last week, but someone just bought Buffalo Bill's house from Silence of the Lambs, and they're opening it to the public very, very soon. So it's pretty awesome. And you can stay overnight. So I'm pretty stoked on it. But we have that in the app too, and I'll put the link to the website and the tickets in there.
Joe, how soon before you do it?
Well, I saw, so there was a Instagram contest, and I think it's still going on, but you enter to win. 2 people can go for it's like a free night or something. It's like the first people to go. So if I don't win that, I'll go as soon as I can. Cool. We could all go and do an episode from there. The Silence of the episode. Silence of the Lambs.
Where is this again? Where'd you say?
It's in Pennsylvania, I think.
Okay.
Not in
okay,
Philly,
that's easy.
Yeah,
that's
you
easy.
guys could drive there for sure.
Yeah.
Who knows? But that's pretty cool. So
no, watching WandaVision, binging through it.
nice.
So getting back a little into the Marvel, remembering like how we went and saw the Avengers, which it took me a few episodes to even like click what was going on. And I was like, oh yeah, I saw the movie that like is kind of prior to this.
Mm.
I think that were the Golden Globes out last time?
Yeah, they were. I watched them.
No, I mean like last time we recorded, since it was a few weeks ago. Probably not.
No.
Golden Globe thoughts. Not that. Yeah.
We watched Ted Lasso because that won a couple awards. Great show.
That's my favorite thing from last year. Ted Lasso is the best thing out of 2020.
I literally turned to JoJo loved it too. I literally turned to her and I was like, Jesse is gonna love the show if he hasn't seen it already.
It's honestly my favorite. It's my favorite thing since I've seen Succession. I mean, it's very different.
Well, who's your what are some characters you really like? Because I have a theory on who you really enjoy
in Ted Lasso.
Yeah. Besides Ted Lasso, of course.
Oh, well, I was like, Ted. I love.
Yeah.
Do you like Jason Sudeikis is just one of my favorite people ever. Like, he's someone who, like, if he's in anything, I'm like, I'll watch it and I'll probably like it to some extent. Do I have anyone favorite other than him?
I figured you'd like Nathan for some reason. I don't know why.
Like all the other characters are so good. Like Nathan and the
girl's really cool. I like both the girls. The owner is really cool, and then the younger girl.
Yeah, but the guy who works for the owner, is it Higgins?
Oh, Higgins. Yeah. JoJo thought you would like
but
him.
Yeah, just like all the characters are so well done, and it's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good. I'm so glad he won something. And then it cut to him in like a tie-dye hoodie with just like so unkept. And everyone's usually like in tuxedos in their couch with their family, and he's just like, "Wow, awesome! This is cool."
Joe, did you
this
watch
is
it
on Apple TV, right?
You should. Yeah. You guys should watch it. You guys would love it.
Yeah, I think it was you, Jesse, who was like telling us about it, and we got Apple TV like just to watch it. Just we haven't started it yet.
When we were talking about TV like a couple months ago or something, I was like, it's worth it just for Ted Lasso.
Yeah. I think for Halloween, because I used to dress like that. I had the sweater with the button up and I have the stash. I could totally do it.
That would be good. That's good.
Halloween ideas.
Exactly. But we also started watching the morning show because that won some Golden Globes. It's really good. Really, really well done. I mean, Jennifer Aniston's so good in that. And so is Reese Witherspoon. We haven't finished it yet, but it's really well done, really well made. And I had no idea Mark Duplass is in it. Great cast in that show.
It is really good.
I don't know. I mean, obviously it's based on the Matt Lauer situation, and I am not familiar with that at all. So
it's so close to Matt Lauer.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's no sympathy to Matt Lauer for what he did, but like, could you imagine being him watching? Like,
I know. I was like, everyone name him Matt. Like, come on. At this point,
I watched Minari.
How is that?
A24 reference too.
I really want to see that.
It's really good. I don't want to, ruin anything because it's worth watching. It's really good. It's I feel like maybe it's just me now. So many more movies, I'm like, they're really good, but they're kind of those movies where it just everything just happens. You pop in.
It's like a one-off.
It's a really good movie though. Yeah, for sure.
So would you recommend watching it?
Absolutely.
Because I really like Steven Yeun. He's awesome.
He's so good. The kids in it, especially the little kid, Alan Kim, is so good. And if you haven't, like a couple days ago, right after the Golden Globes, he was on Jimmy Kimmel, the little kid, and it's such a funny interview.
Cool.
It's so funny. That kid is it's hard. He's one of those kids who's like it's hard to watch him in the interview and not just be like smiling and laughing. I will say too, Golden Globes, Tina and Amy did a really good job of making fun of Hollywood and all the movies as usual.
They did a fantastic. They always do such a good job, but this year was great. They did really
they real made fun of. I love it when they make fun of like all the movies that are nominated, and then just cuts to the actors. Like,
right. I will say one of my favorite parts was when Jamie Lee Curtis gave an award. I can't remember what award she announced, but they said from the upcoming Halloween Kills, so the new Halloween movie. Shout out!
Whoa,
that's coming out this year.
That'll be good.
So excited. But
that's fast forward a year when we're talking about next Golden Globes, talking about Halloween.
There you go. Hopefully.
More representation. Let's go. Well, that's a wrap, and we will end this episode.
Cool.